groups of single-sex students studying GCSE English. What's unusual about them is that they're all students at the same school. Separating them into single-sex teaching groups is just one of the ways in which Sir John Law's School in Harpenden has radically improved its GCSE performance.
What possibly could have been the origin of the limbo dancer?
Results are impressive. 9 out of 10 students get A* to C in 5 subjects, and 84% obtain A* to C in English.
It's the very first poem in the anthology.
How do they do it? This programme investigates the school's approach by looking at 4 lessons in the school across years 10 and 11.
We are looking at ways in which we can assess ourselves and therefore help ourselves improve our grade, all right?
This teacher, Jennifer Slade, is working with a Year 10 group using speaking and listening skills to explore the set text of Mice and Men. What's interesting is the way she's getting the students to assess each other's work.
Look and use your mark schemes in front of you, and you might want to write out little snippets that you think are applicable to that person, and then I want you to give them a grade. Excellent, okay.
Pupil self-assessment is something that we've really had a drive on in recent years, and pupils set themselves targets that build on each assessment piece that they use. At Key Stage 4, in recent years, we've tried to introduce video footage into speaking and listening assessments in a way that maybe we didn't do so much before, because we found that enables pupils to be able to assess their own progress.
Right, we will stop there, and then I'm going to ask you what you have graded and why, all right? Now, Matt was George. Tom, what did you think of Matt? What was good and what could be improved about him as George?
I thought he was really well into role and he spoke really clearly. And I gave him an A.
Excellent, Tom. I would totally concur with that. You were really in role, and he really showed understanding of the novel with the points that he brought out. So that was a really good one. Well done. What about George, our judge? Max?
I gave him a D, and it was a high D. A high D, because I thought his questions were good, but I could barely hear him, and I thought he wasn't looking up or anything, and his acting wasn't the best.
All your points about George as the judge are relevant. However, this is English speaking and listening. It's not a drama GCSE. I thought, George, you did that well. Drama skills weren't amazing, admittedly, but in terms of, you did take a leading role, you did ask relevant questions. So I actually did give you a B.
Meanwhile, in the school hall, Kate Rickard is not teaching a dance class or a drama class, but an English class. The separation of boys and girls in the top 2 sets in years 10 and 11 is a controversial approach to take. So how did it come about?
There was a huge gap between the achievement of girls at GCSE and boys at GCSE, with boys achieving substantially less.
OK, boys, now that we've had a go at dancing the limbo and you're all tired and exhausted, I want you to think back about the questions that we looked at earlier.
So it was a move to try and experiment with a different way of doing things to see whether we could close the gap.
On the board, we have the limbo poem. This is the poem called Limbo. Why might repetition be a technique that you would use in a poem called Limbo? Alex at the back.
Is it because there's only one real technique that you use with the limbo? OK,
that's an interesting idea. Perhaps it goes to the singular technique that the dancer uses. But what I'd like
The gender split has benefited us in a number of ways. The first is that we've seen quite a jump in the number of boys who now take English at A level, as opposed to before we were doing that. So we'll often get up to 50% of our classes are boys, which is vastly different from our previous experience and from other schools.
Anyone try to guess what sort of ship we are talking about here? Sean?
Is it a slavery ship?
It is, it's a slave ship. So we're looking at a poem that is set on a slave ship.
Do the students see benefits in being taught separately?
I think it must be just the concentration levels. Rather than trying to impress a girl in class, so you actually get to concentrate more on the work.
I don't not like having boys around, but it's easier to learn when you're with people of the same sex.
I think I've definitely learnt better. I think probably my grades have probably gone up, I'd say, since then. And I really enjoy English now.
Boys seem to go at learning in a different way to girls, and I think it's easier to be around people who go at learning the same way as you do.
I just need one more person to be selected. No,
In a girls-only Year 11 class, teacher Kevin Shaw is introducing a different kind of segregation in another poetry lesson.
Right, girls. I'm sorry, I've just got to deal with this group now, if I can. Would you like some chocolate? Of course you would. Just take a piece and pass it to the other people. Try not to take any notice of them, people around the outside, as we do our lesson. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to... Is there a problem? I'll deal with you later, if that's OK, if there's any...
Central to the raising of attainment has been a risk-taking approach to lessons, bringing poetry to life, the text to life, having the students reenacting sort of political events and that sort of thing, which will really stimulate them in terms of the poetry.
How did the privileged people feel? How did you feel? Did you feel guilty?
Yes.
Really? Seriously?
Yeah.
Why?
Because all of our friends didn't get any, and we were just... You said you couldn't talk to them. So.
I didn't want you to talk to them. Could that be seen in any relation to anything that you know about in the world or world history or anything at all in recent years?
Segregation of blacks and whites.
The segregation of blacks and whites. Well done. Perhaps we'll now look at the poem that this relates to, which is a poem called Nothing's Changed, and you'll find that on page 6.
After exploring the political setting, Kevin gives each group a different element of the poem to consider.
I'm going to ask you to look at imagery, this photo here, and I'm going to ask you to look at structure.
The person talking is a black person. Yeah. Because they're not allowed to.
It's in first person, so he might have been through it.
Yeah. Relating from own experiences.
By being really cold and stuff, it's showing that segregation doesn't have any emotion.
Yeah.
Then when he does the last sentence, it's just nothing's changed.
It's like a conclusion.
Yeah.
Nothing has changed.
Second verse, they use lots of sentences, don't they?
And time.
My hands.
What I'd like to do is just to see what people are doing in each of the groups. What views about apartheid is being expressed in this poem?
Well, District 6 is telling us that people are actually being kept apart. The black people are actually being kept apart from the white ones. And there's a certain sense of discrimination against the black people. And they're really angry about it as well. And also the title, Nothing's Changed. It's sort of saying that time won't kill whatever they've experienced, and the hatred won't fade away towards the white people. So, yeah.
Very good. Poetic voice group. What do we learn about the poet from the poem itself?
I think he could be first person because it does say under my heels. So he's actually there, it's a real person. Good. And that he's relating to his past experiences of it.
Absolutely brilliant. Good.
One of the key areas that pupils have to deal with in the GCSE exam is to be able to compare the viewpoints of different poets and some of the politics that lies behind some of the poems that they study. And being able to have been part of reenacting or recreating this in the classroom, I think, is a very powerful way of them understanding that.
Then we've also got the literal usage.
Back in the boys' lesson, Kate Rickard makes an unusual request.
I'd like you to get on the floor underneath your desks. All the way under. Tuck those legs in. I just want you to listen. If you're lucky enough to be able to glance at the board, well, you are a very lucky slave indeed.
The more innovative teaching approaches, I feel, fundamentally improve our results.
Are we very uncomfortable, boys? Good.
The lessons are memorable, so the content and the analysis that follows is far more memorable for the students.
OK, boys, you can now sit up on your seats. So we look at the journey of the poem. Why does the poem start in silence? Alex?
Does it start in silence because of the origin of the poem, where they're all really stuck together and all close?
OK, it could suggest that the silence at that point. Cameron?
Down the corridor, Ben Garcia is analysing the opening of Great Expectations with his Year 11 class. He's looking at the differences between an A and an A star.
The green is an A grade and the blue is an A star. And this is a response to the extract you have in front of you, which we looked at last week, which is from the opening of Great Expectations.
Some of the differences between achieving a B and an A, or an A and an A star, can be very subtle, and pupils can struggle just to pick up the fine differences by having input back on marked work. So actually analysing and looking at the difference, they seem to find a lot more powerful.
With your partner, I would like you to make notes on how this one manages to jump up a step from the green one.
So it's saying like one interpretation for the green, where it's giving like a few more sophisticated ones for the blue.
They've embedded the quotes more, haven't they? Because it's just
integrated the quotes, whereas they've just stuck the quotes in there.
Okay.
Any responses about how the green has moved up to the red, the A moved up to the A star?
In the green one, they do offer interpretations, but not as sophisticated as the one in the A star piece. And also in the A star, it's more personal, because it says I personally think, so they're giving their own interpretation. But yeah, it seems to me. Whereas in the green one, it doesn't really say that, it just says therefore this could suggest.
Good, absolutely, thank you.
Innovative ways of teaching also involve the teachers putting themselves on the line. While the students write their opening paragraph, the teacher models an A-star opening.
We found that modelling writing, particularly at GCSE, is a very powerful way of enabling pupils to see what makes a good piece of writing, to be able to analyse it and explore that first.
I thought it was quite helpful because I didn't have a clue how to start the paragraph, and then with Sir writing it, I actually could do it, see how he's written it, and then I could do it my own way. And yeah, just the structure, how he wrote it, how he was embedding quotes and how he used connectives to link quotes together. I thought that was quite helpful.
Sometimes I was like stuck on what to write further on, so I will look at some things that he wrote and how he's been writing them, so then I could put it on my essay.
Our results over the last few years have seen a year-on-year improvement.
Who felt angry?
So our challenge now is to try and continue raising achievement. For us, at the centre of that will be continuing innovation, creativity, being flexible with our teaching groupings and putting the student at the centre of our lessons.